Hello, welcome back to the road to episode 8, my ongoing series where I chart the road to the release of Star Wars episode 8, The Last Jedi on the 13th of December 2017 and the 14th and 15th of December 2017 around the rest of the world. It is currently Sunday, the, was it 10th? 11th? 6th? 10th. So yesterday we watched Phantom Menace, and today we're going to skim through Attack of the Clones. And I think for the past two videos I've said this is the last video before The Last Jedi, but I guess plans changed. So that Phantom Menace video was so long I had to split it up. So this is going to be our revisiting of Attack of the Clones, but we'll be skimming through and then we'll have time to watch Revenge of the Sith later on tonight. It is currently 7 o'clock in the evening. Attack of the Clones, do you have much memory of this one?
Not at all.
Not at all? Okay. Yeah,
is this where they have a fight in that, like, it looks like one of those Roman fighting places?
Yes, gladiator arena style.
Yeah.
This was my Star Wars. I was 14, no 13 when this came out, just about to turn 14. So this was the one that I proper, this was my Star Wars film, because when I was...
What year was it?
2002. So when The Phantom Menace came out, there was no cinema near me where I lived in England. It was off in the city, which I never went to. It was too far away. So I never got to see The Phantom Menace in the cinema. First time I watched it was on a pirate copy. It looked terrible. But this was the one I got to go and see on opening night on the Saturday. And I lived back in Wales then. And I went alone on opening night and it was fucking awesome. I was so excited for this. I was so into seeing this new Star Wars film for the first time in a cinema. By the time Revenge of the Sith came out, I was getting a bit... moving on a bit from Star Wars, I was kind of, I don't know, that it wasn't the same. So this was the one that I'm always going to have fond memories of, but this is generally seen to be the worst Star Wars film. And I definitely agree with some things, but I still have always really loved it, in fact. But I'm intrigued now, after seeing how bad some of that CGI looked in The Phantom Menace last night, to see how much of this holds up.
Especially since Lord of the Rings is out by this time.
Right. But also this film was done digitally, which is, again, George Lucas just absolutely revolutionized the industry in terms of special effects, in terms of editing, and, the actual editing systems that he, came up with and stuff. And then also with this, shooting the film digitally and not on film, which was just such a brand new thing, as far as the way he's doing it here. And it's now the norm, It's now rare for people to shoot on film. That's a novelty. So, this was really the first big film shot digitally that started that process. But, again, a lot of people don't like this one very much. But I'm looking forward to revisiting some of the best scenes. So, here we go. I do feel like Star Wars is missing that fanfare before the film, Now that Disney have got it and it's not 20th Century Fox. Just the silence is a bit odd, You get what I mean, right? No?
No idea what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh, Disney doesn't have that, do they?
Well, no, it's... Anyway.
Well, every movie is weird for that.
Yeah. And now we're going to watch the film in double time.
We'll be done in an hour and a half.
How long? I think this is
not even double.
2 hours and 22 minutes, so just so I can get it out, this was the longest Star Wars film until The Last Jedi comes out this week, so that's somewhat topical anyway. So we're on the Coruscant speeder chase through the city, which I think this is like the pod racing scene in Phantom Menace. Like it's just great. I love it. And the CGI does seem to be notably better so far, which I'm glad of. But
this is 16 years old. Give that a thing.
Right? Yeah, it is 2002. 16 years old. But also, looking at it now, I very much think of Blade Runner. Just all the neon and everything.
Yeah.
The last time I saw this film and watched it, I hadn't seen Blade Runner.
That.
Yeah, I mean the neon signs and just the way the city looks and stuff. Very cool. Anyway. course, everyone's favourite scene.
I love the water. I don't like sand. It's coarse, rough, and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Alright, we're now in the asteroid field scene, which I love. I love the seismic sonic charges that Jango Fett drops in. So cool. I remember that being so impressive in the cinema, like the sound and everything. Okay, we're near the end of the film now, just following that big battle, the kind of the clone army versus the Trade Federation army, the robots and the clones, and it's a pretty damn impressive big spectacle war sequence, whatever you want to call it. Visually I think it's fantastic, especially because you're dealing with the mechanical objects like the droids and then the clone troopers who, you know, you don't have to get any kind of organic tissue rendered in CGI then, so I think that it holds up a lot better digital wise. There's still some creatures that look a little bit iffy, but some of them don't. In the big gladiator arena sequence with some of the exotic beasts that are brought in to take out Anakin and Padme and Obi-Wan, they look really good, I think. What have you thought of the film so far? Or what we've been watching of it?
I've enjoyed it.
You've enjoyed it?
Yeah.
And that's that. So...
I'm looking forward to this fight.
Yeah, so we're just before the fight, the duel between Count Dooku, played by Christopher Lee, who's just great. You gotta love Christopher Lee. I don't care who you are. He's so great. And it's so fucking cool that he got to be in a Star Wars film, I think. I mean, he died, was it last year or a couple of years ago?
A couple of years ago.
And, you know, it's just so great that he managed to, you know, live as long as he did and keep working. I think he had the record, the world's oldest metal album, you know, like when he was in his 80s. You know, did all the Lord of the Rings films, managed to come back and do the Hobbit films, even though he was really old and weak, but he, you know, they managed to get it done. So it's just really cool, you know, that he got to kind of dip his toes in so many big things and was just a legend. Anyway, I think he's really good in this, and we'll talk more later. So the duel, which is a pretty cool scene.
As you see, my Jedi powers are far beyond yours. Now, back down.
And I love his lightsaber.
I don't think so.
The curved handle.
Master Kenobi, you disappoint me.
Okay, done with partial Attack of the Clones, I guess. I think, and again, this isn't a review, it's just a movie vlog, but I think that when the film slows down, that's when the weaknesses start to show. When the characters are just stood around talking, that's where the weaknesses in George Lucas's writing comes through. But when there's action going on, it's pretty fucking good. Like, the action is done well, you know, and the production design is great. There's some gorgeous imagery in the film, I think.
Yeah, but sometimes it is a drag. I mean, I'm beside myself.
Oh, this is such a drag. Oh, I feel I'm beside myself. I hate the 3PO stuff in this film. It gets so far... It just gets so far blown into... I just don't like it. You know, it's... And if you look at Empire Strikes Back, there's a lot of 3PO goofiness in it, but I feel like it works, you know. Here, it's pun after pun after pun, and, you know, yeah, not a big fan of that. We skimmed over most of the romance scenes between Anakin and Padme, which aren't the best. The thing I find disappointing about the whole prequel trilogy, really, is Anakin. We just didn't get a great actor for either of the ages, and I think Hayden Christensen again is a little bit hamstrung by the writing, and I think by the direction too. The famous story is that George Lucas is not a very actor-lead director. You know, to George Lucas, he thinks, I've written it, so you need to say it and know exactly how to say it. You know, Harrison Ford would get frustrated with George Lucas and say, look, George, you can write this shit, but you can't say it. That's in terms of the dialogue, but there's something to be said of a line delivery being bad and the director stepping in and saying, no, you need to do it like this. Whereas, you know, to quote Harrison Ford directly, George is a little impatient with the process of acting. And I think that's true. I think that George has a great heart and wants to tell these heartfelt stories, but I really would have loved it if he'd gotten someone to at least help with the script here, you know. I mean, he wrote and directed Star Wars, and then for Empire Strikes Back, you know, someone else wrote the film, someone else directed the film. He oversaw everything. He was the keeper of the keys, you know, the story master, but, you know, the actual nuts and bolts of the writing and stuff and the direction were handed to different people, and I think that the film Empire Strikes Back benefited from that. Anyway, so Attack of the Clones, I think it is the weakest of the three, just because that central character. I like how the character is portrayed. I like how Anakin is this arrogant, you know, well, not even purely arrogant, but he's tempestuous. He's impatient with the idea that he is the chosen one. You know, imagine being a young kid and being told you're going to be the savior of the galaxy and knowing you have this power, and then feeling like your master is holding you back and stuff. So I buy into Anakin's motivations as a character. It's just that Hayden Christensen doesn't deliver all the time. Even in like single scenes, he'll be really good, and then another line will be really bad, and so it goes up and down. What do you think of
I do agree, though. Sand is very coarse, and it gets everywhere.
And it gets everywhere. See, I don't even mind that as a line, but it's the way he delivers it that makes it sound worse than it is.
He reminds me a little bit of Robert Pattinson at Twilight sometimes.
Yeah,
the way he talks.
Good comparison. What do you think of him? You know,
I don't think he's all that bad.
he's not bad. He's not, but
I think he is completely fine. I don't think that he's worse than a lot of the other characters.
Yeah, but he's not great, and that's a problem when you're dealing with the lead character of the film. Natalie Portman's alright. I like how Padme gets to actually get into action, even in the first film. You know, she's not just she's like Leia. You know, she gets involved in the fight and stuff, and that's really cool. And it's funny how
and this is so many years before all this.
Yeah, but I like how
it has to be strong.
Right, but I like how the scope of it. I like the ambition. You know, we get to see this big Clone War action. It's unlike anything we'd seen in a Star Wars film before. I remember when I was a kid with Obi-Wan saying in the first film, the Clone Wars. I was like, the Clone Wars? What's that? What would that be like? You know, it felt like this big fantasy, you know, in my mind, and imagining what that could have been. And we get to see it, and yeah, maybe my imagination probably was a bit more impressive than what, you know, what we saw. But I really love the visual, actiony side of this film. The asteroid field chase sequence, the speeder bike chase sequence on Coruscant, the big arena fight, I think, is really well done. Seeing all these Jedi in action is really cool. And then the final duel with Yoda. What do you think of that, the Yoda fight sequence?
Well, that's when I first fell in love with Yoda, when I saw that the first time.
Really? Okay. Oh yeah, because you watched... I guess we should talk about it just a little bit, because when we first met, you hadn't seen all of them.
The first time I watched this was 8 years ago.
Right. But when we first met, you hadn't seen all of them, but you just started to watch them all, and you started with 1, 2, 3, right?
I can't remember.
I think you did, because you told me you were going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we watched 6 together on a 1, 2, 3.
I don't remember.
Yeah, that definitely happened. So that's.
I honestly, I think that I did 4, 5, and then we watched 6, and then I watched 1, 2, 3, because someone told me that was the right order.
Okay, maybe that's.
I'm pretty sure I did that because I'd only seen like 1 or 2 movies before.
Okay.
I hadn't seen all of them.
Maybe I'm remembering it that you didn't watch it 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
then,
I'm pretty sure that I didn't, because someone told me I shouldn't do it that way, because that's not the original way.
Now,
but I do remember when I saw the fighting scene with Yoda, and I'm like, holy shit! Look at him go!
Yeah, I love it. I unabashedly love it, and I know that's one of the things people hate is the Yoda scene, because it's like, you know, oh, he doesn't need to use a lightsaber, and I get that. I get that, and I would be fine if that never happened, because it's like he's so cool, he's so powerful, he doesn't need to use a lightsaber. But to me, it just takes me back to seeing it in the cinema and how amazing it was. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Keep telling this story. It's one of the best cinema experiences I've ever had. Is when he pulled that lightsaber out and he started flying all over the place. The whole cinema just did like a little, like that, and you felt this wave go through. That was amazing. It was so fucking cool. Like I just
the energy in the crowd.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable. And whether you agree that whether it should have happened or not, I don't care. I still think it's fucking cool, and I'm a fan of it. So there we go. And it's just cool to see him in action, I suppose. And yeah, just the reveal of it and everything. It's just cool. Anyway. What else can we say, really? Any other comments you have about Attack of the Clones?
No.
No? Obi-Wan's great. I really love Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, and I hate how his beard looks different in every shot. It's so clear how much they reshot, because he has this weird kind of pasted-on beard throughout so many of the scenes. It just looks terrible, and it really distracts me.
Can't tell that it's pasted on.
Oh, it distracts me so much, and I hate it. But I really like him, and I've never
He's
really...
got a thing with facial hair.
I've never really picked up on this before, but I really like it, is that Yoda keeps kind of chastising Obi-Wan in a very passive kind of way. You know, where they're like, oh yeah, Anakin's getting too big for his boots and stuff, and Yoda's like, well, even the most experienced of Jedi can get a little bit. You know, he's like throwing these kind of things at Obi-Wan, like, well, Obi-Wan, don't be too sure, don't assume this, and throughout the film. But I like that. I like that even though Obi-Wan is positioned as the master in this film, in terms of the relationship with Anakin, I like how it's kind of, we're still reminded that Obi-Wan isn't this... He hasn't achieved this status yet, and that he still has things to learn himself, and I really like that. At the end of the film, Obi-Wan said, well, if the clone army hadn't been involved, we wouldn't have had a victory. And Yoda's like, victory? Victory, you say? It's like, that wasn't a victory, you know, this is just the beginning of something bigger. And that's one thing, is that we never really see the Clone Wars. We see the beginning of it, but the main bulk of the Clone Wars gets told through the cartoons and stuff. Anyway, so I still really like it. There's bits that, you know... Oh, and I will say, the scene with Anakin and his mother, really well done, I think. What do you think of that?
It's fine.
Fine. See, it really gets me. I think it's really well performed by both actors. That's where I think...
I think he was better.
Yeah.
She was okay.
Yeah, you don't seem to like the actress who played her at all in the first or second films. But I really like her. I really like her in both films. And but he's at his best in that scene when he has to.
Yes, he definitely is.
Yeah.
He does some really good wrinkling.
But you understand why he did what he did. One thing that bugs me is when, like, he says to Padme, "I killed them, all of them, and not just the men.
Wipe them all.
The women and the children too." He literally says,
I slaughtered them like animals.
I slaughtered them like animals. This angry look on his face. I hate them. And then she sits down. She's like, "Oh, it's only human to be angry." And it's like, whoa. She's just been like shown that the guy that she's falling for is a psycho, and she's just like, well, it's okay. Like, she really must like love him, because that's
blind.
Yeah, blinded by love. Anyway, I actually found that we watched more of this than the Phantom Menace, and you wanted to kind of watch more.
More action.
There is more action. It's
long. There's a lightsaber. You just gotta let it go.
That's true. Yeah, it's great to see some. I love the bit where Anakin gets 2 lightsabers, and then the light gets cut down. You just see the lights flicker. I really like the choreography of the action in the film overall is pretty good, but the 3PO stuff really just awful, and the love scenes, which I don't find that bad, but it's just Hayden Christensen's just so on and off throughout the whole film that it really hurts, you know. And yeah, so there we go. There's probably more I could talk about. I'll leave it there. So there we go. That's that. See you in the next video, which will be the Revenge of the Sith thing. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's fine. I gotta go. I got a shower.
So, any other thoughts you have?
On life?
Yes, any other thoughts you have on life in general?
No, I don't.
Alright, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Oh, by the way,
yeah.
I'm kidding.
Did you want me to do the dishes tonight?
What? Why are you asking that?
I was wondering.
You're just prolonging this.
Well, you started the prolonging.
I'm gonna go.
Guess that's that.
I'm gonna shower, then I'm gonna cube, and then we can watch.
That was domestic abuse. You just hit me then.
Put a sound effect on this.
What were you doing?
What?
You could have flicked me in the eye then.
I was aiming for your nose.
That's staying in. That's staying in. Oh wow, okay. Where are you going with that?
I was going to say nostril.
Nostril.
And then I changed it to nose, and then it became nose.
Wow, on that bombshell. Goodbye.